Nigerian schools record hundreds of school dropouts for security reasons. Gambia Red Cross Society assesses the extent of household vulnerability after windstorm. And police cautions citizens against election-related chaos. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. Hello, this is the World Today newscast with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. School kidnappings have resulted in a negative impact on Nigeria's educational system as hundreds of students are forced out of school due to fear of being kidnapped. More than 1,120 schools have been closed across the northern part of Nigeria, and some 300,000 to 400,000 students in the region are out of school because of insecurity. Details of that in this report.
Falmata Usman now lives here with her family after relocating from Borno State to Abuja last year. She says they had to escape the kidnappings and terror.
Our town was being attacked, houses burned, and we couldn't stay. So my husband and I had to take our children out of school, and we ran here to Abuja for safety.
Not everyone has managed to escape that wave of insecurity like Falmata. Since December, around 1,000 students in northern Nigeria have been kidnapped. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization says kidnappings in schools have increased. UNESCO puts the number of abducted students in recent attacks at 348 after more than 100 students were kidnapped from Kaduna State earlier this month.
This is something that must be treated as a national security emergency. It has to be an all-out war, a concise surgical military operation with clinical precision to take out criminal headsmen from our communities, from our towns, from our villages, and decimate them as much as possible, secure our borders, tighten border security, and make sure we do not see influx of people across the border.
In 2014, the UN launched a Safe School initiative in Nigeria after nearly 300 schoolgirls were kidnapped in Borno State. The program was focused on promoting safe zones for education, rebuilding schools, and boosting the presence of security agencies. It involved teachers, parents, police, and leaders in the affected communities. However, the program was discontinued after a new administration assumed office in 2015.
Northern Nigeria has been classified since from the early 70s as an educationally disadvantaged region in Nigeria. So requiring certain, form of affirmative actions to prop up more access to education for children from Northern Nigeria. And so with this latest onslaught on educational facilities, of course, the North will sink deeper into educational depression, such that all gains made in the last 50 years to lift the North out of educational disadvantage would have been reversed substantially.
President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the attacks on schools, which he warns could badly hit the country's already struggling education sector. The Kaduna State government has also closed down 13 schools indefinitely, while security operatives intensify efforts to find and rescue the missing students. It's part of a directive from President Buhari for security agencies to act swiftly in search of the abducted victims in all the affected states. Those efforts to restore security need to bear fruit soon if people like Falmata are to feel safer in their communities.
Now, President Adam Barrow has on Friday addressed the nation following an overnight windstorm disaster that struck the nation, claiming the lives of at least 10 people. The Gambian leader extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the windstorm victims and said his government has taken immediate action to address the issue. Details of that in this report by Ndai Sise.
Some families in the Gambia wandered around in search of shelter on Thursday, following the overnight windstorm that claimed the lives of at least 10 people in the country. The disaster that affected over 3,000 people has left more than 1,500 others internally displaced. Despite the overwhelming joy rendered to people, especially the farmers, towards the rainy season, the recent windstorm has left everyone with deep sadness and sorrow as some families mourn the death of their loved ones. Addressing the nation on Friday, President Adam Barrow extended condolences to families of the deceased and prayed for speedy recovery for those injured due to the storm.
On behalf of the government and the entire nation, I commiserate with all those affected directly or indirectly. In particular, I extend heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families for the sad loss of lives. And I pray for solace for those who suffered damage to property. In the same vein, I pray for the speedy recovery of all those injured and their loved ones who perished in the storm to rest in eternal peace.
President Barrow said his government is fully aware of the scale that may cause this natural tragedy, and as a result, they have taken immediate action to address the issue. He unveiled some of the plans his government has taken so far to handle this unfortunate situation.
Working with the National Disaster Agency, NDMA, and the relevant line institutions, the government has activated the country's emergency preparedness and response plan. The National Disaster Management Agency staff deployed around the country are working tirelessly to assess the full extent of the damage, and they are instituting measures to mitigate the effect of this natural disaster. Based on an NDMA preliminary assessment report, the storm destroyed property worth millions of dollars.
The Gambian leader urged citizens, including cooperative bodies and development partners, to work with the National Disaster Management Agency on disaster risk mechanisms to support the victims. Apart from claiming the lives of 10 people across the country, the NDMA report appeared to show that more than 3,000 people have been affected by the storm, and over 1,500 of whom have been displaced. Some of the victims in Sinchubalia have told iAfrica TV that this year's windstorm is the worst disaster they have witnessed so far. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Now, following a heavy windstorm that left many families homeless and deaths of 10 people, the Gambia Red Cross Society went to the hardest hit communities to assess the extent of the disaster. The communities of Numukebe and Njawara in the North Bank region, where at least 200 households had been evacuated, fell in the list of the Red Cross emergency relief. Details of that in this report.
The devastating aftermath of the windstorm left hundreds of families seeking shelter, food and clothing for their neighbors. The Gambia Red Cross Society deployed volunteers to these affected communities on Friday to assess the level of damage to guide relief intervention across the country. The Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, Alassane Senghor, says despite the whole country being affected, the humanitarian organization will prioritize its assistance based on the severity of the circumstances.
Because part of our principle is to prioritize communities that are badly affected. We know the whole country is affected, but this is the worst hit as far as the information is concerned. 200 households in this big village. And of course there are no deaths, but there were people who were injured. And of course, as you might have heard, there were women headed or female headed households who are also affected, and most people are sleeping either in groups, this is not the time for that, or they are sleeping outside.
The village alcalde of Njawara in the Lower Badabu district, Adihari Pane, who narrowly escaped death, shared her ordeal with the Gambia Red Cross.
That day, when the house fell on me, I have less people to help me. They could not carry me,
I was dragged out of the house. Then they started shouting, "Mother is dead." Then people started coming. Initially, I was not feeling any pain, but after 2 nights, I felt my whole body was in pain. The doctor checked on me and said I was shocked, but I told him if I was shocked, then I would have been dead by now. But nonetheless, I know it is ordained by Allah and I shall accept it.
2 people lost their lives in the village as a result of the natural disaster on Wednesday. A 24-year-old boy was struck by the storm on his way to bed, while a 5-year-old girl died after walls of a house fell on her. The entire village of Nuukebe, as narrated by Malik Drame, is affected, especially on the aspect of homelessness.
I
can say the whole village is affected, that there is no place that is not ravaged by the windstorm. I am speaking right now